Welcome to Transaction Review and Calculator Practice, June 2015. We're going to be going over a couple of scenarios. One that I brought up because it's something that I want to look at. It's uneven cash flows. And I actually had, this came up, Kathy, that note with you and I, let's see, that, you took a look at, I sent it around about the uneven cash flow note. It was a land note in California, and it's kind of like, gosh, how do you calculate these things? And so I wanted to make some progress on that. Hey, Joe, I'm going to unmute you. Welcome to the call. Do you have a mic tonight?
I think so.
Oh, great. Okay, you're very faint, but I did hear you. Okay, that's good. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to bring up this scenario. Have you guys worked on uneven cash flows where you have, different payments or little mini balloons, things like that? Any of you can? Have you worked on one like that?
I haven't.
Earlier today, I got a reminder from the guys who made the end-of-day development software. I said, I'm sure I know you guys have a way to deal with this. I've just forgotten how to use it. So I got a refresher. Not every once in a while, this was a note where purchase price on it was $304,000. They put 54 down. There's a $250,000 note. And here at the bottom, I have this is the amortization of the original note right here. So you can see that there was a loan of $250,000. They pay $2,000 a month. So it's a 5-year note total. So they make 60 payments of $2,000 and an additional $26,000 every year in March. So 2,000 plus the 26 is 28 every year like this. And with the final balance due at maturity, 60 months out of 68,827. And so this is what the note looked like that we're buying. And so when I put up my note opportunity sheet, how is it that I can know that if we're paying 200,000 for that 250 note, how can I prove to my investors that they're going to make more than a 10% return? Because they can't go onto an online calculator and just get this to work out. So basically what we have is, in the traditional sense, and then I'm going to work off of this amortization. So here's the way I'm getting paid for this, because this is basically a little bit less than what I'm actually paying for the note. I'm going to come out of pocket about $1,500 to close this. But I didn't want my investors going higher than this investment to value. So there's no money up front for me to, take a fee of any kind. So my fee will be taking $250 out of each of the monthly payments, and then $1,000 out of each balloon payment here. So that's how I'm going to get paid. Basically, $3,000 to $4,000 a year just for the management of it. So this is what's left over for the investor that comes in at 200,000. So they'll get 1,750, not 11 times because 2 payments have already come in. So they'll get 9 times. Then they'll get a balloon of 27,000 because I'm keeping 1,000 of that. Whatever. So and then at the end, I think there's maybe a $3,000 boost at the end that I will get if this all pays off as projected. So this is the payment stream coming into the investor. So really I have this payment stream, 1,750 times, right, so this is how many payment streams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different payment streams. So this is the old school way of doing it, right? 1,750, 10% interest is what I'm shooting for. We have not 62, so 58 payments left of this. So what's the present value of that cash flow stream? Okay, so then for 58 payments of 1,750, someone could pay this much and make a 10% return. So let me try writing that part in, hopefully a little smaller. 80, what did I say that was? 228. Okay, so now that's one cash flow. Now we go back to the other one. In 9 months from now, or I guess that's more like 10, something like that. But let's call it 9 because I think I did my example. So 9 of those, it's probably more accurately 10, but anyway, I'm gonna keep it right here. Well, I don't care. Let's just see what happens. So 0 payments. So now I'm not counting any of the regular monthly installments here. I'm just checking for questions. Okay, so now I've got to just count and treat this as a cash flow all by itself, although I could probably set up an annual if I wanted to change my whole, to one payment per year. I could take 4 payments of 27,000, but I really don't want to change my basic settings for this. So this is just how I do it. So I won't have any payments in. I'm just going to get 27,000. And that's a negative number over here for future value, the way I do it. 10 months from now, this lump payment, no monthly payments. In the meantime, I still want my 2%. Okay, now I'm going to calculate for PV. What will I pay for that? 24,849. Okay, and then I have to go back. All right, now I've got another one. That will be 12 months later, and 12 and 12. So you can see I'm going to do this 3 more times. So recall 10, and then 12 plus 12. So that's a year later. I have 22. I'm going to get another 27,000. What can I pay now for that one? 22,494. Okay, next one. Recall n plus 12 equals 34. What can I pay for that one? 23,362. And one more time. Oops, recall that plus 12 equals 46. 46 months from now, I get another one. I can pay 18,432 for that one. And then finally, I got the last one of recall this plus 12 equals 58 months from now, not 27, but 65. Oops, dang it. 65 211 is the final balloon payment. And what can I pay for that? Okay, 40,297. Hello. 40,297. And then if we add all those up, and I'm going to do that right now. Let's compare it to what we get when we pop in using Day Development's little cash flow tool that I like, that I just really got turned on basically just today to really remember how to use it. 22494, 2362, 18,432, 40,297. Okay, so basically the total for that is 206,662. Okay, so this is the total I can pay to get a 10% return. Since we're paying only 200,000, they're obviously making, I don't know exactly what it is, but because it's trial and error with this way. But obviously if they're paying less than 206, then it's more than a 10% return. if the note pays exactly as expected, not early, no extra principal reductions, no default things, making things complicating it. So anyhow, any questions so far? Comments? Okay, so now if we wanted to do this using this, so I'm going to clear all. I think that's how I do it. Okay. So now there's this little one, CFJ, cash flow J, and I'm going to click this one right in the middle of the calculator. It brings up this uneven cash flows area where we can just enter these in. And I'm going to push this plus button a few times because we know we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 entries to make. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so the first one, the cash flow, and the way they have it is you put, the first one is the money that we're paying out. So it's going to be a negative number. So we're paying out $200,000 one time. Okay, the next time, so then we're going to come in. The rest of them will be positive because these are all, this is money out of our pocket. These are all money in the investor's pocket. So 1750, and that's another 9 times. And this assumes 1 month in between because we've got it payments per year 12. So it's between each line item, it's automatically assuming 1 month. Okay, and then the next month we get 27,000 in. That comes in 1 time. Then we're back to 1750. This time 11 times, right? And then we have another 27,000 that comes in 1 time, 1750, 11 times, and 1 more time. And then 65 to 11. 1 time. Is that right? 1, 2, 3. I think so. So what's the internal rate of return if someone puts out 200,000 and then gets this cash flow stream as we have it here? So that then we press the IRR, internal rate of return, and it's 10%. Just like my t-value came up with this, 10%. So if I wanted to say, anyway, so that was the way I could figure that out. And then also if I wanted to say, hey, I want them to have an 11% return. So I'll go the NPV, the new present value, and I'll say, calculate it for an internal rate of return for 11%. And it says, well, then they would have to pay $5,300 less for this same cash flow. So let's see if I can just plug that in. I don't even know. So 200,000 minus 5349 equals. Okay, so then if the investor needed 11, we would do this. Oh, and plus I got to make it a negative number. That's coming out of their pocket. Now let's see what happens. Yep. We click the internal rate of return, and there it is at 11%. And then there's this nice little feature here where you can share it as a PDF. And it shows these cash flow series. Okay, so here's the PDF that it shows. So it's very visual, and so it shows negative, that's coming out of your pocket, 194,651, and then it shows the payment stream. You get 9 of these, then 1 of those, 11 of those, 1 of those. So I think it's a really great tool, and then it also shows what the internal rate of return based on these numbers. Now, sometimes I like to calculate for the investor like what they would get. Well, so you can see that this is a lot better way for someone. You can do the back and forth with the old school method like I was doing, or you can do it. And the numbers aren't exactly the same. There's some variation, but it's pretty darn close. So let's see. Oh, so then I wanted to show them what their yield would be. Say, Don, what if it pays off early? Because they're interested in this unearned discount that you can get, with the notes. And I said, okay, well, let's just figure all that out. Well, let's see if they paid. I'm going to erase. This is a negative number. Just erasing these line items. What if they paid? And how many payments would that be if they paid off at the end of that's 31 payments down the road? What if they paid off, and now I think this is somewhat realistic because after 2 years, this guy will have a payment history, and if he wants, he could probably at that point go and get a bank loan if he didn't want to have the balloon payments to make. So let's just say 2.5 years out. So I go to the original amortization to see what the balance would be at that time. Okay, so at the end, so 2.5 years later, basically from now, the balance would be 160,809. But how many payments more is that? 33. I would get 1, 2.
Get 17.
So now I have to get this back again, don't I? 1750. And how many payments are going to be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more. Is that right? 9 more?
Wouldn't it be more than that?
Well, so because this one is just from.
It's a 5-year loan, and you've only been paid out for 2 years.
Yeah. I'm going to get back to this number. Well, I'm trying to go from now because this is 21 months from the original note, but we only have 19 left because 2 payments have already come in. So these have to equal 19. So I've got too many here. Oh, because I'm at the wrong one. 19 plus 12 is 31 payments total. I have here 9 plus 1 plus 11 plus 1 plus 9 equals. Oops, that's not right. Don't I need 31 months out? How come that's not working? 31 minus 10 minus 12 equals. Oh, that is right. Okay, so these equal 31 right here. And then so after that last balloon payment, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then they get this balloon payment of 160. Or else I could say this is 8. And add this 160 that's left, 809, plus the 2,000 that it'll be paying. So that final payment would be 162,809. 1. Okay, so this is what the cash flow would look like if it paid off basically 2.5 years after we bought it. So remember that was 10% before, something like that. This one jumps up to almost 14% yield. So I can show the investors, and there again, I can print this out as a PDF there and show them that if it pays off early, if we put out the 200,000 and you get the payment and then it pays off the full balance, you can see that that's the nice bonus that the unearned discount that you can get with discounted notes when they pay off early that you just wouldn't get when you make a loan. If you obviously if you made a loan for 200,000 at 10%, that's just all you're going to get paid off. But in this case, if you're there, you got to be willing to hang out for 5 years. But if it paid off in 2.5 or something like, which is, like I said, a reasonable amount of time for someone to build up credit and to get other financing, this is a likely scenario, very possible. So then, his job there, the investors goes up to 14%. So that's just kind of cool. I thought. I mean, I just really love being able to work with that, going forward and backwards. So anyway, I've seen this before, but I just kind of never got into using it. And this time I really needed it to be able to explain things. And so luckily, Kenny and Kyle were gracious enough to get on Skype with me this morning, do a little powwow. So any questions, comments?
Yeah, Don, after you talk to your investors about this, you better take them out for a drink because their head's going to be hurting.
Yes, this is true. Alcohol and note investing is a good mix generally. That's what I've
It's
found.
almost like they better believe in you at this point, Don, because it's going to be, I think, confusing for investors to look at all this stuff, other than the fact that it is real numbers and it is true, but it's even hard for us to follow sometimes on something like this.
Right. So this is where, like, when they say, "How do I figure out the yield?" Usually it's so simple. For an interest-only loan, they can say, "Hey, I put out
Right.
200,000 times my 10%. Is I get 20,000 a year. That's easy. And then 20,000 divided by my 200,000 is,
Yeah.
yep, 10%. But in
Maybe, Don, an easier way to do this would be is whatever the investor's supposed to get. Let's just say they're going to get whatever monthly income they're going to get, whatever they put in, just let them know that this is what you're going to get most likely based on the financial calculator, and show them that they are going to make 10% based on how much they put in and what their monthly payment is going to be coming into them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Because
kind
all this other stuff is really good for maybe like an engineer if he was an investor, but for most
of
people it's going to be way over their head.
no, it really is, and that's why it's a mind tweak. So I tell people you can't figure out amortizations, the return on amortizing loans without a financial calculator. It's just where you just can't. It's very, very
Yeah.
difficult to do it short without a calculator. But like, here's T value, but here again, here's a program we're trusting. Just like here's a program we're trusting. It's not like you can do it with, simple math for most people. So that's why I show them this amortization schedule that says, here's the interest you're getting. Yes, you're getting some principal back. Yes, that means your interest that you're making, but this is getting safer and safer. And heck, after 12 months, 18 months, we could probably turn around and sell this, for a profit. Um, because it'll have the better seasoning, more, especially after we get the first lump sum payment. That's significant protective equity that's added to the hard equity that the buyer has into it. So anyway, and then yeah, if they don't trust me or they don't trust this calculator, but I think those PDFs that they came up with to show the money out and the money in with the arrows, I think
Hmm.
is about the best I can do. But you're right, Ken. It's a head tipper. But it's nice to be able to work with this feature
Oh, absolutely.
and reverse engineer, like, oh, okay, oh, I only want to pay them.
What
uh,
about, Don, in the T value? Would that have been any easier to work that in T value?
Well, I did work it in T value in terms of, but I had to get the ballpark. Um, just I did it my longhand way first because I worked this out before I got reacquainted with this little feature here.
So
So
is
I
this
just
one, what you're pressing right now on the screen here, is that T value right there that we're looking
this
at?
one, this one
No, not that one. The
over
one, the
here.
one, yeah, that one.
Yeah, this is T value.
Oh, it
So
is T value.
yeah,
Okay.
so I got in my mind of, okay, here's the payments that are coming in from the note. How am I going to get paid? There's nothing up front. In fact, I'm coming out of pocket to close it. Um, so So
But
okay,
but
this is how
but
my
on T value, isn't there a way on T value to also put in the interest rate unknown and then calculate for that to make sure it's 10% there as well?
Yeah, I think you can, although I don't use it that way, but I think you are right. I've seen somebody do that before. It's just that I would have to double check it a couple of times because
Double
sometimes,
check it and see, because if you just type in the word unknown under the interest rate and then hit calculate, it should come back out to 10%.
yeah, I'll do that. I can't bring it up on this computer because it's on my PC, but that's a good thought. Next time I go in, I'm going to check that just to see if that would work. So, yeah, it should work. It's probably the same type of deal like this is, right?
Yeah,
This programming is probably the same as that in t-value. So between the two, I can kind of like go, okay, double check my numbers a bit there. So
yeah. Was that a mobile home deal in
uh,
Boulder Creek, Don?
this is the Santa Cruz Mountains. They call it Boulder Creek,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I'm familiar with the
actually it
area.
was basically it's a land deal because the mobile home that's on it's a 3-2 mobile, but it wasn't included as part of the collateral. He sold it as personal property on a side deal. And so,
Hmm.
for all intents and purposes, this is a land deal, but with the emotional equity of home ownership because the guy's fixing it up and his 6 and 8 year old kids are living there. And the co-signer on this loan is his foster mother, who has 804 credit score and lots of financial assets. So to me,
Mm.
between the fact that it's her son's and grandson's home in the mountains, and the fact that she has good credit and lots of assets, I think this is a reasonable spin. Even though typically, land deals, I'd probably stay at 50% ITV on most land deals. But this being in outside of Silicon Valley-ish area, Santa
Hmm.
Cruz, San Jose
Hmm.
area, I think with all things considered, we decided to take a spin on this. But okay, now one other thing. Great questions, and appreciate you guys being a part of this. Now, one other thing is Joe wanted to talk about Quincy's rap scenario. Joe, can you speak or can you chat just to let me know you're here? You can hear us?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Joe.
Hi, Joe. Okay, so great. So you were on the call last Monday. So remind me of what you wanted to cover regarding that rap scenario.
Well, basically, it's just doing, doing a calculation if you were going to purchase it. I had two questions. One was a calculation, and
I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you speak up just a little?
yeah, I'm sorry. There were two questions. One was just on the calculation if you wanted to buy the wrap portion of it, not the underlying, but the wrap.
Uh-huh.
And the second one was more, was there a significant value to making it a wrap as opposed to just doing a first and a second? The first and second are easy. The wrap, because the interest rate's the same, so your amortization is going to be the same. For building protective equity.
Right.
So
So, yeah, that's a great question.
Can you
So
repeat that, Don? He was I was unable to hear him really
yeah,
well.
I hope I do this well. So forgive me if we need to correct this. But on Ken, were you on the call with Quincy? You were,
I
right?
was.
Yeah.
I
So
was.
I don't have his slides up, which actually I probably do have his slides though. I want to say I downloaded them. Let me see if just for kicks and giggles I can pull. I think he
And
emailed.
what was his question, Don?
Okay, so why do the wrap instead of a first and second? Why make a first and then wrap the first with a larger AITD instead of just not, why not doing a first and a second? Which is a good question. Um, and then the second is how do you buy the wrap and calculate your yield on that? Is that right, Joe?
right, yeah.
Okay, let me, I don't always get um, Quincy. Let me see if I can find his PowerPoint. Da, 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 here it is. Okay, because then we can actually pull up the numbers that Oh, I did have it there. All right. Well, let's open it up again. Okay, one thing about wraps versus a second is that if you own the second, it's harder to control the first. Wrap note. Okay, this is it, right? Wrap note.
Yes.
So that if me as the second lien holder, I have the right, if I'm a second behind a first, I don't have the right to collect the payment on behalf of the first lien holder, right? But if I have a wrap, I am collecting the payment for the whole payment and then forwarding the first their portion, right? So I have a lot more control over that cash flow and knowing that that payment's being made. If the payer, if they're paying us separately, they might be paying me as the second lien holder and not paying the first. That's unlikely, but it's possible. So you could lose track of the performance of the first that could threaten your lien position, right? So that's one thing is if you make the second a wrap instead, then it's inclusive of, and you have control over that first. So you get the whole payment. And the second thing is if you have to, if you have to foreclose from that second position when it's a wrap, then you already have your financing in place. If it's already there, you don't have to pay them off because you're making sure that they're getting paid. So even though you might go negative a little bit, it's not like you have to pay off that first note holder $31,000 just to protect your position, just so they won't foreclose on you. If you have this wrap and your payments don't come in, then you're just going to keep paying him. In this case, they're exactly the same the way they did it. But while you're getting a new buyer in there with a new down payment and a new loan and all that, you're keeping this guy in place and you don't have to change that part, right? So it's just a lot more control and more safety. Does that make sense? That's all I can come up with. Any other ideas? Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't know if this microphone's any better. I can see the control part, but on the flip side again, if it was a second, you'd simply foreclose and take title subject to the first.
Yeah. Yeah, but when it's a wrap, I don't know. They don't have the obligation to accept your payment. Like if obviously in this case, there's private investors who probably even know each other, right? But technically, like if it was a bank, they might not. They say, "Hey, you're not the payer on the note." I don't know. That's just things
Yeah, no, it's just a question. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to get on to ask them Monday. So
yeah, that's a great question, and I've asked that a couple of times myself. I don't know if you. Yeah, I don't know who's. Oh, I forgot where I was, but anyway, like on another deal I did. It was kind of a favor for a friend of a friend, and I made a second loan that I normally wouldn't do. The underwriting, especially for the little bit of money I was charging them, really wasn't my normal type of underwriting, and I probably wouldn't do it again because after I did it, I just hit myself in the head. I go, why didn't I? Because if they quit paying, I didn't even know. It was a bank note. So if they had a little bit of trouble, that's why they needed a second for 6 months, a small second. And I did it, and there wasn't, nearly enough protective equity as combined loan to value as I would have liked. So I just kicked myself in the head because I'm going, I haven't heard from these people. They're not really responding very well. If that first is going delinquent, I'm not going to know. So I'm going to get to the end of my 6 month straight note and not know if they're on track or I've got a problem that's getting worse month to month. So in hindsight, I would have wrapped the first with an AITD. Yes, I'm in second position, but then I would have had the right to collect the whole payment from the borrower. Then I would be kept in the loop of how the overall note's really performing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I see that.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll never do that other thing that I did again. It was kind of a nail biter, but luckily it all worked out. Okay, so then let's just go to and if anyone needs to run, I know we're running over. We usually just go half an hour, but let's just see if we can figure out. So buying this note here. So we got, okay, so what's the value of this part, right? Is that what you're saying, Joe?
Right. Well, actually, yes, the value of the payment's 104 to 180, and I mean, I just was going to take. I was just going to take the 180 and then take 104 and subtract the two present values. And say,
Yeah, this is another great question of how do you figure out this is a payment stream of notes, but the first one doesn't start for like a long time, right? So what really is the value, the present value of this payment stream? That's a very good question. Obviously, um, they sold this for $500. So I wonder what her yield was. Let's just figure it out. So first thing we're going to do is just recreate this payment stream here. So how many payments will he have? 180. Sorry, there's a little bit of noise. I'm going to just try to mute everyone except Joe. Okay, minus 103. Okay, there's 77 payments that will come in, right? So whoever
right.
owns the wrap note starts getting $77, or they'll have 77 payments of, oh, darn it, of 414.16. Put that as a negative number. And in this case, let's see. If that's the interest rate. Huh. Okay, so the present value of if it was right now would be 25,000. Okay, so this the way that they wrote it. But let me think of it. 70 something. So that's interesting. Okay, so let's just take what it's worth. This $25,000. So this is the present value of 77 payments at this. Or do you want me to throw in a different, what kind of yield would you be looking for?
No, that's fine. I was just seeing how you
For
did it.
example, okay, so now we're going to take, this is the present value, the right now value of this payment stream, okay, based upon a 7 3/4 yield requirement. If we put in 8, it's only, worth almost the same, a little bit different, right? So let's just say 25,000 is what its today's value is, reasonable return for somebody's IRA. But it doesn't start for 104 months, right? So really, we got to treat this number today's as if it's a balloon payment, right, for later. So I turn it into a negative number and I put it over here in future value, take out the monthly payments. So this is the amount that note is worth, but I'm not going to get it for 104 months. And I still want my 8% return. What's it worth? 12,466. So if you were okay with 8%, you'd pay 12.5 for the right to collect 77 payments starting 104 months from now.
500 was a great deal.
So if she only paid 500, well, we'd have to, let's see, if she paid, is this going to tell us? Well, remember we just calculated on its face value before, right? Yeah, so she's doing good. A 46% return if, everything goes as expected, right? So yeah, it's a great little investment for somebody's, especially an education account where they don't need the money now, but they'll need it later. It's a great way to do that. Does that make sense, or do you want me to go over that again, or?
No, that makes sense. It basically calculating the future value at
Yeah, so
70.
you create the payment stream as if it's now, you get the present value of that, and then you treat that like it's a balloon payment, not to be starting for that whole time. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Well, great call. Thank you. Thanks everyone for being on the call. Really appreciate you showing up for these, and we'll see you next time. You guys have a nice evening.